Well, welcome to an introduction to educational research. Today's video is going to be very different from the videos you've been watching. I'd like to demonstrate a piece of computer software called the Direct Observation Data System. And I think what I'll do, rather than just talk about it, is I'll demonstrate it first. I'll show you how it's used or how you can use it, and then I'll go over these directions here. So let me give you a scenario. I'm a classroom teacher. Let's say I'm a resource teacher and I have a self-contained class and I have several students, and I have a student named Nuria, and I'm the teacher, so that's me. And the subject, this will be math, and I'm going to be the observer also. That's a unique characteristic of this software. And Nuria tends to blurt out and talk out a lot, shout out during class. So I want to collect some baseline data because I want to develop an intervention. So I want to collect some data on that. And so the behavior, I'm going to select one of the pre-programmed behaviors, although I could have defined a behavior myself if none of these pre-programmed ones were the ones that I wanted. But for the sake of this example, we're going to be talking about her call-outs or talking, inappropriate talking. And I'm going to select an observation time. So the computer will automatically track the observation time for you. But for now, I'm going to 1 minute because this is just an example. And so we'll go to the observation card, and I have a choice. I can select frequency data. Frequency data would be every time the event happens, it's counted, so you keep track of the frequency. I could track duration data. Duration, we might be interested in the length of a behavior. If we had a student who tantrumed, we might be interested in how many times they tantrumed during the day, but we might be interested in the length of the tantrums also, so that would be duration. Or we can collect latency data. Latency data is the gap in time between a prompt being presented to the student and the time that the student responds to that prompt. That's the latency, the gap between the prompt and the student response. Well, since we're interested in blurt outs here, Nori is blurting out, we're interested in the frequency, how many times during the observation period. So we'll click on frequency, and we are brought to our card here. And I have observation notes, so I can keep track of notes. I can make notes during the observation, and that they'll all automatically brought into our summary screen. But let's start the observation. So the observation is only going to be 1 minute. So I click Start the Observation, and it puts in all of the necessary demographic information. And oops, Noria just called out. So I just clicked. As long as the cursor is in this rectangle, anytime the behavior occurs, you just click. Now, if you have a wireless mouse or a remote clicking device, you can be walking around your classroom teaching. You don't have to be sitting at the computer, as long as the cursor is in this rectangle. Or if you have an aide, the aide could be sitting at the computer and just clicking every time Noria talks out or calls out. So yes, you can be just walking around your classroom teaching. You do not have to be at the computer. In fact, the computer does not even have to be in the classroom. It could be in a closet in the classroom, or it might even be in the classroom next door. Depending on the architecture of the building that you're in, will limit how far the signal will travel. But it's certainly, you do not have to be at it in the classroom. Yep, and I see the minute was up. So the observation automatically ended because it was just 1 minute. So we have the date, we have the student name, the teacher, the subject, the observer was you also. The behavior was talking. The length of the observation was 1 minute. There was a total of 3 events, so 3 times Noria called out or blurted out. And the rate of behavior per minute was 3 behaviors a minute, since it was only 1 minute. We have observation notes. Well, we didn't put any observation notes in, and then we have the raw data. But suppose we wanted to put some observation notes in. We can put them in after the observation. So we could put something like, this is an initial baseline on Nuria callouts. Now I can copy that, put it right here under observation notes, and then that's added to our observation notes. So it's that simple. It's that simple. And I could print this. Would you like to print the card, or would you like to save this data? Well, I'm going to save it. And it tells me that the data has been saved to the clipboard and to open up a Word document. So I'm going to do that. I'll open up Word. And I'll paste it in, and here I have my entire observation and all of the information. And I could save that and put it onto my hard drive, and then I have a permanent copy of that. In this case, I'm not going to save it because we're just demonstrating. So that's collecting frequency or event data every time a data happens. Now let's go back to the home card and let's clear all of our data. And now let's have another scenario. We have a student, James, and James is a screamer. Okay, so the teacher's name is you. Whoops. And the subject, we'll put LA, language arts. The observer is going to be you, because you can collect remote control data. Let's see, behavior, we're going to define it ourselves. Screaming. Whoops. Okay. So the behavior is screaming. We've defined it ourselves. Length of observation, we'll pick 5 minutes this time. And so we're set to go. Now we can go to the observation card. Okay, now this time, since we're interested in looking at screaming, we're interested in the duration of the behavior, how long each of the screams lasts. So the computer will track how many times James screams, but it will also track how long each scream lasts. And so, oops, James started to scream right at the beginning of the observation at 9:58:09. You'll notice, and he's still screaming. And so you'll notice that rectangle is here. And as long as the cursor is inside of that, you can be walking around teaching or anything like that. And all you have to do is click, and the computer will automatically keep track of it. Well, let's put ourselves some notes here. This is an initial baseline data on James's screaming behavior. So those are some notes we put in. Okay, he was still screaming. Now he stopped screaming. So it gives us the event, when he started screaming, when he stopped, and how long in minutes. So this was almost a minute, 0.85. So 85% of 1 minute. Whoops, he started screaming again. Okay, so we'll let the behavior go. So again, built into this duration or latency program is the exact same features as the frequency or occurrence program. It has the home card, start observation card. You can print or save the data just as we did. You can end the observation, or you can quit the program. Okay, he just stopped screaming. And so for the second scream, it almost lasted a half a second, 0.43 minutes. So now he started screaming again. And again, we can come over here and we can enter more notes, more observation notes. if we'd like. And when the program ends, it will automatically be added to this summary data screen. And again, you'll notice we have here, well, he just stopped screaming again. So this third event lasted a little more than half a minute, a little more than 1/2 of a minute. And oh, he started screaming again. So you'll notice that we have all of our demographic information. We have the date, we have the time the observation began, we have the student's name, teacher name, subject, observer, behavior being observed. Oh, he just stopped screaming. So we have 4 events so far. This was about 1/3 of a minute he was screaming. So first he was screaming almost a minute, little less than half a minute, now 1/3 of a minute. And he started screaming again. So I'm just going to wait until the 5 minutes is up here. So we'll keep tracking some information. So this software is available to you if you're interested in it for free. I programmed it, I developed it, so I mean I have the copyrights and I'm not interested in selling it or anything like that. I'm interested in using it so for teachers to use it so that they can make some database decisions on strategies that they're using in the classroom. So if you would like a copy of it, please email me at happyj1939. Whoops, he just stopped screaming. You'll notice this scream was almost a minute, 0.91. So please email me at happyj1939 at yahoo.com and just tell me that you're interested in the Direct Observation Data System, or DODS, and I'll be glad to send it to you. What you need to tell me also is what operating system that you'll be using it on, because there are 3 different programs, one for a Windows, one for a Macintosh, and one for a Lexus operating system. The software is exactly the same, but it's configured differently. So so if you're working on a Windows machine, then you need to tell me you're using a Windows machine. And if you're working on a Mac, you need to tell me that. Okay, so the 5 minutes was up. So the computer automatically put in the length of the observation was 5 minutes. The total number of events, the total screams was 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The total duration, in other words, the length of the observation time, the length of the 5 minutes that James spent screaming was basically 3 minutes. The average duration of his screaming was a little more than half a minute. That's the average. So each scream averaged a little more than half a minute. And then you see that the notes from our note field were automatically brought in. And then you'll see you have the raw data of the actual observation. So you have the event, the time it started, the time it ended, and the length and duration. Now, if we were looking at latency, it would be the exact same program. You would have an event. This would be when the prompt was presented. That's when the event that started. And this would be the time that the student eventually responded. So the latency here would be, it was almost 85% of 1 minute, or 0.85 minute gap in minutes before the student responded. So the program is exactly the same. So it can be duration or latency. Okay, well, back to the home card. Now, let's take a look at this, because we've just demonstrated, so it may make more sense to you now. The purpose of the Direct Observation Data System is to provide the user with an automated data collection system that will, 1, collect direct observational data, 2, generate summary statistics concerning the data, and generate a report of the data that can be saved to a computer and or printed. If using a wireless mouse or remote clicker, the user does not have to be at the keyboard to collect the data. So I just want to reemphasize that you do not have to be sitting at your computer if you have a wireless mouse or a remote clicking device. As long as the cursor is in that black rectangle that you saw, you can be walking around the classroom and going about your business teaching, and anytime a behavior occurs, you just need to click. The program will track 3 types of event-based data. It will track the event or frequency or occurrence every time the behavior occurs. That's the number of times it occurs. It will track the duration of a behavior, how long the behavior lasted, and it will track the latency of a behavior, the gap between the presentation of a prompt or stimulus and the observee response. To get started, you need to fill in the necessary demographic information. So you need to type in student's name, the teacher name, the subject, the observer. You need to then select a behavior from the behavior selection menu. Now, you can leave the behavior blank. I don't know why someone would do that, but I put that in there just so there's that option. You can select one of the pre-programmed behaviors, and if none of these are appropriate, you can just click on user-defined behavior, and you can select the behavior, and you can type in your own behavior. Then you will come to the observation length menu, and you can select the length of the observation that you would like. Once that's done, you just need, then you click on the go to the observation card, and you will be presented with the option of, do you want to collect event or frequency data, or do you want to collect duration data, or do you want to collect latency data? Click on the appropriate data collection that you would like, and it'll take you to that card. And then you can click on start the observation, and the observation will start, and the computer will track it for you. Well, that's it. If you're interested in using the program, please email and let me know. Thank you very much.